Lifeline for Vets. We're proud to serve the crisis management information and referral needs of all U.S. veterans and their families. The Lifeline for Vets provides a unique and much-needed service for veterans. We're non-governmental. You're an NGO. You probably receive government funding. That's okay. We provide a proven vet-to-vet service model. That's good. We know that works because, hey, hi, here we are. We give real solutions for problems veterans face. I'd like to hear more about that. The Madman film. The worst part of war should not be coming home. Guess what? It is. It took me years to come home, and I am still not adjusted.
You're never home.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. You never
and only we understand it. If you try to talk to a civilian about this, and this is the worst part about some of these organizations, I'm going to call this part out, particularly the VA. They use civilian psychiatrists.
Worthless.
I don't care how long you've been doing it or if you've got degrees from every Ivy League university there is. You don't know what's in a grunt's brain. You cannot understand a guy who's been over.
Yeah.
You can basically understand it. You can understand it on an intellectual or an academic level, but you're never going to understand it.
Well, let's just do a quick comparison. When I was lower enlisted, when I was in the 9th Infantry Division, just a straight leg grunt, I had to go on sick call a couple times. And I literally went on sick call and I had really bad strep throat. And I would go in there and they'd ask you questions and they had like a flow chart. And the guy asking the question was a private first class who, you know, he just doesn't know what he's fucking doing. He's just following instructions. But he didn't have any insight. And it's the insight that
he's a PFC.
Yeah, it's the insight that makes the difference.
Yeah. I didn't know how to talk with soldiers until probably my 3rd or 4th year as between E4 and E5. Because as an E4, I got a team, which is pretty normal. And then at E5, I started to get more responsibility and everything. And I was a barracks sergeant almost right away when I became an E5. And that's a fast learning curve, let me freaking tell you. But I got that barracks. I was coming from 2nd Infantry LURS to a headquarters company at Army level. So I had all the clerks and jerks. So I had like all of the crybabies.
Well, they actually started, when I was a senior private first class, I was always get put in charge of shit because they only had to tell me to do shit once. I didn't have to really get supervised. You didn't really have to come check on anything because if I did it and I told you I did it, it was done.
They were probably grooming you for 4 and 5.
Oh yeah.
At that point. Yeah. That's pretty normal. We don't even get out of our MOS schools. We don't get out of our AITs until we're in E4. So.
Yeah, I get you.
Because our schools are so damn long. So, Lifeline for Veterans. Stop veteran suicides. The MVF has a solution to the veteran suicide problem. That statement right there, you guys, and I'm talking to Lifeline for Vets. Look, again, appreciate you. You're doing good things for vets. I'm not dissing you. But don't say you have a solution for the veteran suicide problem, because if you did, we wouldn't be losing 22 to 44 guys a day.
Yeah.
Okay? Just don't say that.
And those are the actual, like, blatant suicides. It's not even counting the guys who are doing all kinds of risky behavior, drinking themselves to death, using hard drugs, getting with some, toxic, slot C and give yourselves the hipple hiv.
I see a lot more veterans in my experience that do the slow motion.
Yep.
The slow motion ejection. We need to come up with a term for that, where you just engage in shitty behavior
until you're done.
And it can take years in some cases.
Oh yeah, it's painful.
It is not. It's the worst. That's by far the worst one in my opinion. And there's almost nothing you can do to help some of those guys because they have their trajectory is just toast.
Yep.
And it's very hard to get to those guys. The NVF has a solution to the veteran suicide problem, a vet-to-vet crisis hotline, the Lifeline for Vets, operation since 1985, and staffed by trained fellow veterans. Okay, I'm going to say this about that. I already mentioned saying having a solution. You've got a good idea. A crisis hotline, the problem with that is not everybody's looking for a crisis hotline when they've got a bottle of Jack in one hand and are staring off the edge of a parking structure. Okay? You're not likely to dial an 800 number. What you do have is a good resource, but it's not the solution. Now, this one I really like, operated since 1985 and staffed by trained fellow veterans. Bingo. Okay, these guys get it on that front. Lifeline for Vets gets it. They've got veterans on their lines, and that's what, in the case of veterans, that's what we need. I understand that everybody out in the audience isn't a veteran, but that's what we're talking about tonight. There are at least 20 veteran suicides a day. It's between 22 and 44. Pop and I have looked at it over and over again. That's 9,000 former vets. That's 9,000 vets each year that we're losing to suicide. And the rate of active duty suicides has increased over the last 5 years. I don't know what their date is for this data. I'm imagining that's the height of the Iraq War.
Actually, it has not. They've been spending between 60 and 200 million a year, and the numbers have only gone up.
Yeah.
And I think they're flirting with $250 million this year to fight the suicide.
DOD has really shanked it on this one. DOD has really failed to respond to the veterans' needs and the soldiers' needs when it comes to this stuff. They are, hands down, in my opinion, the absolute worst. But here, vet to vet, when it matters most, there are other veterans hotlines out there. This is the only one where a vet can talk to another vet who has been there and understands. Thank you. I like these guys for that alone.
Yep.
It's exactly what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, where it just is what it is. There are certain professions out there, like I couldn't sit down with a cop and understand what he goes through on a nightly basis as a patrol officer at night in an inner city.
Well, I did do that.
I don't know.
Well, I did that video, the price of the uniform for the first responders, and that's like 2 months ago.
Yeah,
that one came out. Because those guys suffer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The horrors that they see. When I got out, I had buddies who said, "Oh, you should become a paramedic," or "Oh, you should become a cop." I have that thing in the back of my head, and I know quite a few vets who've got it, where if we rolled up on like a triple homicide where a guy killed 3 kids and he was still alive,
he wouldn't be alive.
I would. I'm sorry. And you don't know that? Yes, I do, because I had an incident while I was overseas on a mission where something like that happened. And a thing happened. I'm not going to go through all the events right here, but there were only 4 of us, and we were on a listening post, but we had line of sight with our objective, and we had binoculars and shit, because you got to be far enough back because their dogs will smell you if you're too close. Okay. One of the guys said, "Oh my God." And we all picked up binoculars and looked, and a kid got popped. And everything in my head went, stand up, take your weapon, walk down that hill, and go pop that motherfucker. It'll be fine. And fortunately, I didn't do that, because that would have compromised the team. It would have been a bad thing. But that happened, and basically right in front of me. And I know that I cannot function in that environment. I have the greatest respect for police and first responders who deal with that on a daily basis. I truly do. I have tremendous respect for them, because emotionally that would probably cripple the shit out of me if I had to see that. And I know they see it probably on a weekly basis.
Well, in the major cities, they do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
a lot of state troopers see some crazy shit on the roads as well.
I'm sure. Yeah, I have a weak spot in my heart for kids and animals.
Yeah.
It's just how I'm wired. What are you going to do? So where were we? Let's see here. For every suicidal veteran out there, there are 5 to 10 veterans who are at risk. They may be suffering from PTSD or traumatic brain injury or just shit that happened to us, man. You have no idea the stuff that goes on. Unemployment, suffering other problems like family-related issues, family court, things like this. There's a large
failed relationship.
Failed relationship. Often dealing with multiple issues that put them at risk for becoming suicidal. Yes. So these guys are probably one of the best at understanding the problem, it looks like to me. This is Lifeline for Vets at nvf.org. Let's move to Disabled American Veterans over here.
DAV.
Let's see how DAV.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the DAV.
I don't. And these guys were selected by the Grok AI as organizations that help veterans in danger in the self-kill box.
Yep.
The guys that have wandered into the box. So they came up on this list. I didn't just put them here. Lifetime of support, life-changing services. You implied you know something about these guys.
Well, I've had a lot of guys in Guard and Reserve units that contact the DAV to assist with disability ratings and what have you. And from the stories I've heard, they really didn't have much success. I could be wrong. I'm just going with the feedback I was given from about a couple dozen guys.
So not very effective.
I would put them in the 30th percentile.
That's one of the big things that I've heard about quite a few of these organizations is their level of effectiveness.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.